Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Billion Dollar Banker podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Perrone, and today I'm really excited to have Patrick Farrell with us. This guy is living life the way that I think all of us are secretly dreaming to live life. And so, if you're here today, we're going to be talking a lot about alignment, and we're going to be talking a lot about Pat's journey and how it led him to where he is today and how he's helping others. This is an episode I don't think you want to miss because, I think so many of us are here today thinking, how do I do more? How do I achieve more? How do I get more out of my life, my dreams, my goals? And today there are so many opportunities. So listening to other stories is really always so inspiring. Pat, thanks for joining the show today.
Excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. So tell us where you are right now.
I'm actually in Tulum, Mexico. I spend winters here working and enjoying the sun down here.
Incredible. Incredible. So we were talking before this, guys, for those of you listening. Pat is traveling quite a bit. I would love for him to tell us about his background and where he is today. Pat, tell us a little bit about your story, your personal journey, and what you're doing today to help people.
Yeah, so I have a big background in engineering and technology, and then I went down like a personal development path and became a coach. And now I really help small businesses and entrepreneurs build out the systems they need to scale, um, take things off their hands that they often don't want to do, and just get the clarity around building a system that not just gives them money in their bank account, but also freedom in their life and also the ability to make an impact in the world.
It's incredible. I was looking at your website. If you're ambitious, if you're talented, and you know you're meant to do something bigger to create an impact, but somewhere in between that idea and the execution, things get stuck, right? Like when I read that, I was thinking to myself, wow, that sounds like probably every entrepreneur out there, right? Trying to find the right systems, the right strategies, the right people, the right process. There's so much to learn today. So walk us through kind of a little bit about, your personal story to the extent of kind of how it got you into this space of alignment. You and I spent some time talking about that. And I think that's so important. We hear people talk about balance and harmony, but on our initial call, you talked about alignment. And I think that's just, it resonates with me so much more as time has gone on in business. And I know you've had a long career in different spaces. So talk to us about your journey finding alignment.
Yeah, so I think alignment is interesting to think about when you're starting a business because you could obviously make money in this world doing a lot of different things. But are you aligned with the life that you want to live, the people you want to impact, and the things that you want to do with that life along the way as well? And I think a lot of people just kind of get into the idea of like, oh, I just need to make money to live the life that I want to live. Well, what if you get yourself into alignment of like, okay, I want to do this, I want to travel the world, I want to make an impact, and I want to do these really meaningful things for myself and other people, while I also build a designed life that actually makes me feel good every day and not stressed and overwhelmed along that path as well. So my path started back at Virginia Tech almost 20 years ago now. Kind of crazy how long it's been. I became a software engineer. I left Virginia Tech and went to work a small company in New York. Really honed in my tech skills, and then at some point along the way, I felt like I plateaued, and I went down a personal development journey and started traveling the world as an entrepreneur. And now mixing both of those together is actually how I've created the life that I'm living today, where I can use tech and then merge that with the lifestyle.
I want to pause for a second at that spot where you said, things at somewhere along the way things plateaued. Tell us about what was going on at that time for you. What were the feelings that you were having that led you to what was it? Were you having indecisions at that time of, whether to continue one path or take another? What inspired you to really make that transition?
Yeah. So when I lived in New York for 5 years, I worked underneath two PhDs. I learned a ton there. Like honestly, like everything I know today was built on the foundation of that job back in New York. And I'm so super grateful for it. But when I started, I was actually the first engineer. So I was the
Mm.
first engineer full time. And I started to do a ton of stuff. I would get to go fly in airplanes and test our system. I would get to do all sorts of fun things when the company was small. And then as the company grew and I grew, I started to kind of get pigeonholed. And I was like, I only got to do the things because I was a software developer. I wasn't a field engineer. I wasn't a customer relations engineer as well. I was hired as a software developer, but the company started to hire those roles out, and it started to kind of like put me into a box that I didn't want to be in.
Mm.
And I started to get frustrated. I started to want to do more, and I was not told by management that I could do the things I really wanted to do. Granted, from their perspective, I understand, but it put me in a place where I felt like I had plateaued and couldn't learn as much as I wanted to. And it really inspired me when I actually saw a video on YouTube that got me excited to go become a digital nomad. And that's the kind of lifestyle that I went after I felt like I plateaued because I just didn't want to be frustrated anymore in New York.
Wow, that it's pretty incredible because I think, a lot of us are waking up day to day and we're doing something to make a living, and it's almost like before you know it, right? You're like you flash forward and you're like, I've been doing this for 10 years, I've been doing this for 15 years, like what makes me happy? What drives me? Where do I see the future? Is my thought process in alignment with my company's thought process, right? It's the same kind of thing we have to go through with our relationships in our life personally, right? Sometimes you start outgrowing and outpacing the environments that you're in, whether it be personally or professionally. So, talk to us about nomad, this digital nomad concept. What is a nomad?
So there's a whole community of what's called digital nomads, is what people call them. I actually prefer the term location independent entrepreneur because I kind of don't want to pigeonhole myself into this digital nomad role, but it is a very, very big term in the world and also on the internet. So I saw somebody living this digital nomad life where they were living in Bali and Thailand and able to work from their laptop, and they were creating products and services for other people. And I saw also some developers doing that with their software skills on YouTube. And I decided that I could make that happen for myself. And I started to go out there and recognize that I already had the skills. That's actually part of my coaching is I help people understand that they already have the tools they need inside of them. They don't need to go learn something else right away. They can leverage what they already had. So I use my software skills to go after more of a freedom lifestyle and join this digital nomad community. And I started with something called Nomad Cruise. So we traveled from Cartagena, Colombia to Portugal, and I got to just learn how people were building businesses online and traveling the world from their laptop.
Wow. And so what advice would you have for someone that's like listening today that is in this space where of indecision, let's say, in their life, right? Because it doesn't just have to be about making a business transition. You said you coach people, right? So I'm sure you hear kind of all different sides of their stories. What's holding them back? What's keeping them where they are? Even if they have all the tools that you said, like it's all within us already. It's just kind of how you turn these things on. But what would your advice be for someone that is in that space where they're contemplating, is this for me or should I try something new?
Follow the emotional roller coaster of your intuition, I would say. There's something in me back then where I was like frustrated. I was like, I don't want to get up in the morning. I would get text messages from my boss, be trying to tell me to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I just like felt frustrated. And that was kind of a signal to my brain and my body to say there's something not in alignment, like we talked about, with the life I want to be living. And then when I saw this ad on Facebook for that Nomad cruise that I talked about, I felt expansive. I
Yeah.
felt excited and it felt
Mm.
light and it felt like, oh my gosh, I should go after this and try something new. So I would just follow that feeling of expansion and excitement
Mm.
and see where it leads you. And if you recognize that you are feeling more frustrated on a daily basis, that's also a message that there might be something that needs to be changed.
Hmm. That's absolutely great advice because you're right. It's not just like do this, right? It's like you kind of have to follow what you're feeling. A couple questions for you. Did people hold you back? Did anyone tell you don't do it?
Uh, it came later, I would say,
Hmm.
but it was like a big transition process. I on paper had everything that you like society tells you that you want. I had a apartment in New York City. I was dating a girl. I had a six-figure salary. On paper, everything looked right, but everything internally wasn't quite what I wanted. And that was a big part of it was just listening to myself versus somebody else telling me what to do. Family. My dad was pretty supportive of it, I would say. My mom maybe a little less, and just people like kind of like wondering what I was doing. Later along the line, when things started to not work so well in my business for a little while, that's when you start to get these like things like, oh, should you go back
Oh yeah.
to your job and stuff like that. But it's like, no, I burned the bridges. I burned the boats. I got to go after this. And I continued on and I figured it out. And I'm excited to be where I am today. But yeah, there's just this big roller coaster of like listen to yourself versus the external world on along to figure it out.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, what great insight, right? Because there's so many things in our lives, I think, that we sit and think about that we're not in alignment with, but we're just kind of doing because everybody else does it. Like when I'm sitting, at times when I'm sitting on the soccer field in the pouring rain with my daughter, I'm like, does she like this that much? Do I like this? That are we in alignment with what we like, or are we just getting involved in sports just because everyone's in sports and you're supposed to get your kids in sports and that's what they do after school and they got to stay active and so it's interesting because we jokingly say to the kids sometimes, we're like, hey, what about, would you rather like go to school and have these friends forever or travel the world and have friends everywhere and we'll do school at home? And at 9 times out of 10, they're like, travel the world, have friends everywhere. Right. And so it's really like our limiting beliefs. It's our blueprint. It's how we grew up. It's the things that we did when we were growing up, but we're in a different world today. So like the way of the past isn't always the way of the future. And I think sometimes, Pat, maybe you agree. Like, I think the hardest part is like actually creating that vision forward and seeing the blueprint of like redesigning your life, right? You always thought it was going to be this way. That's that 6-figure income, that apartment in New York, the girlfriend, everything's fine, right? You're on your way, you're there versus like this new life and this new vision you have. How did you kind of like redraw that vision for yourself? And what advice would you have for people that are in a space where they need to reimagine what life looks like?
Well, it started again with kind of leveraging the skills that I already had. And I started to find a couple clients that were looking for software to be built. And I took what I knew from my job and started to build software for people that were not my employer anymore, but my client.
Mm-hmm.
And that took honestly a little while to kind of figure out because when you're an employee, there's this mindset of like someone else is telling you what to do. But when you start to become a freelancer or an entrepreneur, you have to tell yourself what to do. You have to motivate yourself. Like we could go on like that for hours talking about that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I started to take advantage of that. And I actually got really like, call it luck or call it grace. Someone said before I actually left my job that they would hire me. And that really helped me actually go down that journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked for him for about 5 years, and actually still he's a good friend, and actually might work on some projects for him now. But that gave me the ability to live the life that I did, and I started to build a business for him, or build software, excuse me, for him for his business,
Mm.
and that allowed me to live the life that I was living while I still made a big discovery about myself, and I started to think more about what I wanted to share with the world, what products I wanted to create. One of the most challenging things though is when you are coming out of a 9 to 5 job, when you're coming out of maybe your first job out of college, or maybe you've just been working in one industry for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
you recognize that, oh my gosh, I know this really, really well here. However, there's all these other things that I didn't know. I didn't know about finance. I didn't know about marketing. I didn't know about sales. And I had to start to go down the path to learn more about that. And I started to discover, and that's been the challenge for me, figuring out those other pieces of the process because I'm pretty good at technology now,
Mm-hmm.
but still like working on my sales process and outreach
Yeah.
and systems to really make a bigger impact is what I'm building now too.
Yeah, there's so many hats we have to wear. As you're talking, I'm thinking about people that have this business idea that are ready for a change in their life, that know what it is that they want to do. They know what they're passionate about, but they're scared to take that first step because exactly that. Like they don't know everything. Well, I know fashion, but I'm not sure about how to, do online marketing. And I understand law, but I'm not sure if I don't want to be a partner here. I'm going to open my own practice. Like, how am I going to do this? So there's a lot of these moments in life where you just have to, fall in love with the process of learning and trying something new, and then going through the process where there's some doubt along the way. There's going to be some fear, there's going to be some indecision, but it's about really, planting that flag and knowing where you're going and just taking that action. So I completely understand what you're saying by that. I want you to talk to the audience a little bit about your personal development journey. You've spent a lot of time focusing on this part of your life, which I think a lot of people leave off the table. We'll do business seminars and we'll learn, we'll sign up for the class on a certain topic that's related to how to make more money. But personal development, I always feel like is something that sometimes we just put to the side. Tell us about your journey and what you've learned along the way.
Yeah, I think going back to the business for like how to get the business to align with your life, like your business is just a reflection of who you are and what you want to bring to the world. So I had to learn more internally about what drove me and helped make me happier so that I could bring more of that into my business. So
Mhm.
the truth is, I quit that job in New York. I traveled for 2 years. Externally, I was living a really, really cool life. I was having fun. I was going on cruises. I was um, building building the products for that client.
Mhm.
Internally, I wasn't yet really happy. That was the truth. Even though I had left and did the thing I wanted to do, I wasn't internally really happy yet. And it was actually Tony Robbins and moving to Los Angeles for about 4 or 5 months that started to put me into a place where I started to learn more about my beliefs, about my values, about those limiting beliefs you talked about what I was focused on, about learning about emotions. Like, I think people aren't even taught the stuff that needs to be taught about, like what drives our daily actions and our daily decisions is largely about our emotions and what we focus on. So I had to learn about that and then start to shift those patterns that were driving me to not be so happy. I was longing for that life that I had left actually in New York for a long time, even though I knew that that wasn't super in alignment with what I wanted anymore. And I just started to kind of go internal for several years to kind of figure out what I did want.
That's awesome. I haven't I was just talking recently about doing, Date with Destiny, but I did the Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within, and I remember, the when you walk through the 12 feet of hot coal barefoot with, like, 5,000 people, and I had this moment like, "What am I doing right now?" Like, "What is this?" But I'm chanting, "Yes, yes," over and over again and walking across this, and it was just such a powerful metaphor for believing in yourself and believing in what you can do, and, those types of environments are really, like, electrifying. It's like being at a concert. It's so much different than reading a book about something or listening to a podcast, but being at an event. Which Tony Robbins events have you done? I assume Unleash the Power Within. Have you gone further than that down the line?
Yeah, I've actually done 20 events at this point, maybe 21. I've lost
Wow.
count. I did Unleash the Power Within twice that first year in 2019, and that really helped me kind of find more alignment, like we talked about, and made me start to really become like the happy person that I truly do believe I am today. I did Date with Destiny at the end of that year, which that's even deeper process. So if you ever get to do it, I highly recommend it. I'm grateful that I was in 2019, right before 2020 hit, that I got to do it as the last normal in person one,
Oh, yeah.
and then I did business mastery a few times now. So it takes time though. It's like you have to put yourself in that environment, and what Tony does say is proximity is power. And that's a
Mhm.
big part of it. Those nomad people that I started with, going to Tony Robbins, going to other events, I started to put myself around people that were consistently working on themselves and their business and trying to create more freedom. And that's a big part of that personal development journey too, even more so than just the content that you learn there.
Well, I just think about, like, first of all, this is such a reminder, proximity, right? Even though we're so far away, talking to you right now is reminding me, like, I can't believe how long it's been since I've put those things on the back burner myself, right? Like, making that these events aren't inexpensive, right? So making that decision to take that extra money and not just go hang out or go buy something for yourself, but to invest it in you and what you think it will do for you and how it will impact your performance, your life. I think just kudos to you for doing that. Because there's always not a lot to go around, and to take it and put it there and continue to do that is amazing. When you think about, like, let's say business mastery, what are some of the key takeaways that you're applying to your life today that you learned from those seminars?
Once you get to business mastery, it's everything you built up from Unleash the Power Within and Date with Destiny, which is getting clear on like who you are, what you want to bring to the world, and what your values are to make that happen, which is all a big part of the process. But then you layer in like processes and KPIs and how to keep track of everything
Mhm.
and what your message is and what's your why. that's why it's a 5-day event, because I can talk about that for 2 seconds here, but it goes deeper into what is your why? What is the purpose of your business? What is the purpose of it existing? Why are the products that you're creating of value into the world? So talking about that for 5 days with a bunch of other business owners is really powerful.
Mm,
And then how do you start to share that with the world? You're doing it right now. Like, thank you for reaching out to me and having this podcast, because we need to start to seed people's brains with these ideas of what they can do with their life,
mm.
and then follow up with them. I'm sure maybe you've gotten some clients from your podcast in the past. So we have to follow up. Who's interested? How can I help my audience?
Mhm.
And then what products do I deliver, and what kind of systems do I create? And it's the systems. Like, if I were to give your audience one thing
Mhm.
that I didn't focus on for the last 9 years that I wish I'd focused on from day one, it would have been systems. Like, create a system at the start that leverages your time and energy so that you can do the things that you love to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's so powerful, right, guys? So what we're hearing is number one, like make sure you're in alignment with the things that you truly want in your life, and maybe at some point you were in alignment and then now you're no longer. Like you could fall in and out of alignment with things because things change as time goes on. I can't tell you how many people, Pat, I hear that I talk to that are like absolutely miserable with what they do for a living. They will say it openly, like I hate
Hmm.
it, I hate this company, it's horrible, but I'm never gonna leave. And it's so hard to kind of get into that psyche of like, how do you stay in something that you really don't love or that's not resonating with you anymore, a culture that you don't identify with. So I think hearing from people like yourself is motivation for those people that are, probably feeling stuck, honestly, scared. Today, if people were to find you, you're building out systems per se, right? For companies to help them take their businesses to the next level, applying all these things that you've learned to help other people. Tell us about what some of your clients look like and some of the things that you're helping them with today.
Yeah, so I have anything from an individual like coach or software developer that's trying to get their ideas out to the world. One piece of software I'm actually building this past week is makemoneyfromcoding.com, which is going to allow developers just like myself, like 10 years ago, like myself, like knew that I could code, but I didn't really know how to sell it. So I'm helping them build a platform so they can sell their software and sell their expertise out to the world. And then once I once you start to work with small businesses, which is what I love to do, it's training them on how to use AI systems in their business, how to start to use Claude Code, which is one thing I'm using every day now, which is Claude and Cursor to start to empower myself and build things that would have taken me several years. And I've literally built an app I think that would have taken me a year and did it in a week now with AI.
Jeez.
So it's yeah, I'm working with small businesses to start to get their ideas out there faster. And I won't name the name, but I'll give you a real world example of what's possible now.
Hmm.
And what I'm trying to solve is, I had a client last year that sent all their development off to a foreign country, as many people do in the world now. They would go back and forth, but their team wasn't very technical. So they would send requirements off to this overseas team. They would get software back and not really know what they got. And then the overseas team would provide them like a demo of the feature.
Right.
Sure, it looked like it worked, but
Hmm.
how was it implemented? How was it built? How do you maintain it? How expansive is it? How can I easily train another employee or another engineer on this? It was quite honestly a disaster, and they spent about $1 million of development money on this,
Oh.
and that's not ideal, right? So what I'm doing now is empowering their current team. And I don't even think you can get started being not super technical now if you learn some basic skills. So empower their current team to learn these skills, to do the development, and then you can hire engineers along the way as well.
Hmm.
But that's the system. That's the story I don't want to see anymore. And I want to see teams that are building things quickly and making an impact in the world faster, and not wasting a bunch of investor money off to foreign um,
Oh,
teams that
yeah.
are not helping their business grow.
Yeah, failing's one thing, but when it's an expensive mistake, I mean, it could mean the difference between your business working or not, right? So it's those are big decisions to make the right way. So someone's out there today and they're like, I want to develop an app or I have a startup idea, reaching out to someone like you would be a good idea, a good place to start.
Yeah, I think so many people, like, I've done it. I've literally been in New York City at a bar, and we were writing an idea for an app on a napkin that now is actually on the App Store. So I want to see more of that happen in the world. I want to help small businesses or individual solo entrepreneurs do that, and create something, because even Zoom or Airbnb, all these things that we use every day, at one point they were an idea. So let's take those ideas and get them out to the world.
I love that. It's a great perspective, and so many of us have so many great ideas. What if someone was building like a basic app? Do you have like they have a great idea? I mean, are most of these companies going to get startup capital? Or are they designing something first and investing in the business? Do you help with that? Like, hey, Pat, I got this great idea. Here's how I see it. Now what? What do I do next?
Yeah, so I have an onboarding process. They fill out a form, or obviously we can just do a call and chat about it.
Hmm.
And then we get clear on the requirements of the application. What does it need to do? Does it need to integrate with other services? And who's our client? And what problem are we really trying to solve? It's only within the last 6 months that this has massively changed the world. Clearly, I've been doing this for a long time, but the timeline has shrunk so much. It used to be that you had to do an ideation process. You would build like prototypes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I can get them to a working application that's what's called a MVP, a minimum viable product, in about a week now.
Wow.
And obviously that's not to say that they have their full like application that's working to run their business in a week, but we can get something working that they can test and play with and try to get validated. And then I help them go from that to the working app on the App Store and running in the cloud that they can run their business on.
Very, very cool. Um, I was thinking as you were talking, like there's so many people that have these great ideas, and the fact that you can materialize them and put them together so quick now, it makes me think about other industries that exist today. I'm just curious, what do you think the impact of AI will be on business? I mean, I always think about real estate, mortgage lending, title insurance. Those are businesses that I just, I'm obviously closely related to, but do you have any insight for the audience on where you think AI is going to go with replacing a lot of what we're doing today?
Yeah, it's a big discussion. Everybody's talking on the internet and on the news all about like all the jobs that are going to be lost. Well, what about all the jobs that are going to be created? I can do things that I never was able to do 6 months ago with it. Now that being said, I want to caution the audience to not just let the AI do everything for you. It's now your teammate, and it's now your assistant, and you're the director of it.
Mm,
But you're not just saying, "Oh, go do everything for me," because if you're not learning yourself, that goes to the back to the personal development part. You have to master what the system you're building with the AI is. Otherwise, you're just going to end up in the same situation of farming all that work off overseas. You don't know how it works, and you don't know what you've built, and you're going to end up in a situation in the long run. So I think it's going to incredibly take away a lot of the manual labor that we have to do that's kind of just like meaningless.
mm,
And it's going to allow us to give more meaning into our businesses, our careers, and our life. So that, like, if you're sending emails and you're in your emails for, let's just use that as an example because everybody has an email.
mhm.
If you're in your emails 3 hours a day, and you're just sending emails back and forth, are you helping solve problems in the world? Are you helping companies succeed? Are you getting your message out? You're wasting 3 hours, in my opinion.
Right.
Versus if you can take the AI and have it auto do a lot of that stuff for you, and you can get that time back, now you can get back to what is really meaningful and important.
Yeah. And a lot of this stuff, it's like how many companies are going to allow the integration of what AI tools, I think that's, there's going to be companies I talk about all the time right now that are going to integrate and adapt fast to AI so that their teams can utilize it as that assistant, as that partner in business, answering emails, handling lead generation that's coming in, giving us all the lifts that I think we deserve, rightfully so. And there's going to be companies that lag, that, that aren't prioritizing it, that aren't comfortable with it, compliance, safety, security, all these things, right? That'll probably halt it completely or delay it. So it's definitely, when we think about alignment in today's day and age and what you do, I think technology and a company that embraces it fully is going to be really key. So you spoke about the app that you have. So if I'm an engineer, a software developer, I come to this new app you've designed. Tell us just a little bit more about who that is for and how it's going to help.
Yeah. So if you're going to build a SaaS app or software out in the world right now, um, building the app is only a start of the process. Like
Right.
you could have the best software in the world, but if nobody uses it, it doesn't really matter, right? So what I'm building is the ability for you to be able to sell that and find an audience quicker. My first MVP of this is you can upload your code, you can upload the file. Like I don't know if you've ever installed a Mac app, but it has what's called a .dmg to install it on your computer. You can download that file, you can install it on your computer, and I'm giving you the ability for you to pay for that application
Mm-hmm.
or for that software through my platform, and it'll go directly into your Stripe account. So now you're removing that barrier to entry for someone to actually sell their software, so they can focus more on building the software, which is the skill that they're already good at.
Right.
And I'm taking some of that like resistance away for them to actually sell it, because their alternative would be they have to go build their own website build their own payment system. They have to market themselves and all that kind of stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to make that part of the process easier so that more developers like me, when they're frustrated at their 9 to 5 job, or even like I'm on Threads. I don't know where we met. I mean, it was either Threads or
Yeah.
Instagram, but I see lots of people on Threads that are saying like they're getting laid off from bigger corporations because they're losing their job to AI.
Mm.
Well, again, you have skills that you can use if you're a developer to go build software yourself. You
Right.
just might not know the other part of that pie that I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to take some of the resistance away from them through this software.
That's solid. Yeah. I mean, you're right. It's a good perspective way to look at it. Like, how many jobs are going to be actually created through AI, and those that end up mastering how to utilize AI, there's going to be all different scales. There's going to be people, working for Fortune 500 companies that are masters of AI. And there's going to be people that support smaller startups and businesses and mid-sized companies, but we're going to need the experts, or we're going to need to become the experts, right? To figure out how to use it. So, absolutely love this story, guys. All of Pat's information is going to be here in the show notes description if you want to follow him, watch his journey as he travels the world and helps people to grow these amazing companies. Really inspirational, Pat, to listen to how you made this decision to fall in love and in alignment with your life and your business. And I think we could all glean some inspiration from you today. So I really appreciate you joining us.
I appreciate being here, and thank you so much for having me. I really had a great time talking to you.
And let's keep collaborating. Look forward to seeing you again online. And everyone, thank you so much for joining. Please share this episode with someone that you think may benefit from it. Someone that might not be in alignment today, that might be waiting to make that next move in their life and just needs that little extra push. Make it a great day.